Hey everybody, I'm Todd and this is Sweet Tea Guitars. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel and welcome to my life. We're shifting back to the figure 8 build at this point. I've been working on my great guitar build-off project for the past couple of weeks, and I had said in the last figure 8 video that I made that I was going to bounce back and forth between this build, the figure 8 build, and the Cloud 9 build for my great guitar build-off project. I'm also working on the 7 of 9 build, which is for my buddy Wes at work. Just to make sure that I make forward progress on all these builds, I thought the 2-week scenario would work out pretty good, especially considering most of these things are revolving around my schedule for the great guitar build-off. So where we left off last, and I've not touched this guitar since then, this is our neck. We got a Ziricote fretboard. It's slotted. This is a 25-inch scale guitar, 22 frets, quarter sawn maple, 2 pieces of Oregon myrtle wood, and a center strip of Murado separated by wingay and anagray veneer. Here's my body blank. I've got 2 pieces of mahogany. All this is maple, and I've got that separated by some wingay veneer. Those center pieces are curly maple, and the white maple's on the outside of that. I've got an alder top, a 2-piece book match alder top on here right now that is like a sub top. What I'm planning on doing is hogging out most of this material to make this somewhat of a hollow body guitar. We're going to shape it the actual top set, which is this beautiful piece of walnut right here. This is curly Bastogne walnut. I got this from C. Jacobs Woods, and the coloration on this thing, I mean, that looks like a painting. You know, it's just beautiful. Once I put some finish on this thing, this is going to be a beautiful guitar top, you guys. You can see how deep into the body my neck pocket goes. Well, if you look at this body blank with the neck pressed down in the pocket, and I've got a nice tight neck fit. What I'm wanting to do with that walnut top is tuck it under the fretboard right here, almost touching the end of my truss rod adjustment nut, and I want it to hug perfectly on the outside of the neck right here. And then we'll slope this down when I go to start shaping the guitar. We're going to have to be really careful. The plan pretty much is to wait until I get the walnut top glued on here. Then we'll start to slope that top away. Since this is a break angled neck, I'll make sure that that break angle is followed by my top wood so this does not look, you know, out of sorts. I've never done this kind of construction before, you know. So what I really want to do is to make absolutely certain that I don't have any gaps on these 3 sides. You know, I'm going to have to sand it and shave it down and everything, but it'll stick up under the fretboard like that. So I've got to cut this top in a way that it covers this tenon area right here. I'm putting 1 pickup in this guitar, 1 volume knob, an output jack, and the bridge. I want this guitar to be simple and elegant. What I thought about doing was carving a pickup cavity on the back of this guitar to give access to that pickup from the back, as well as the controls. What we'll do is actually route this top like it's a pick guard, and I'll drill 2 holes where these the height adjustment screws are for the single coil, and this top will become, you know, it'll be like a pick guard mounted pickup in the top with access through the back. I really want to do this work to get this walnut top marked out and get all this sorted before we start to remove any material from the body blank. So what I need to do is I need to take some measurements and find out from the end of my body right here down under this neck. I need to know that measurement so I can mark this out. Now we can use the heel of this neck to mark out this walnut top, but I need to know how much of this tenon, how long does this tenon actually jut out into the wood? And I don't want to measure back from the edge of my hole because I could get off a little. I would rather come from the edge of where I want my body to join. And in this case, since we have not cut it yet, I can come from the edge of my body blank. So with the neck in the pocket, just like it is, I'm going to take a measurement down the side of this neck from the edge of my body blank. And we are exactly 128 millimeters. On this side, we are exactly 83 millimeters. While we're at it, we'll draw ourselves some lines here so we don't have to keep popping the neck back in and out of the neck joint. That's pretty much all we need for now. We can start to draw out our top with just those measurements. All we need is 127 on our center line. Then I can take my crimson protractor, we'll lay it down on our center line, which we're using the joint for the center line. Make ourselves a line right here. Now that will be the end of our neck. I'm not going to notch this for the truss rod adjustment nut until after we cut this rectangle out of this neck pocket and I can actually slide this under the fretboard. So this right here will be actually hidden under my top. So now maybe that gives you a little bit of an insight into what I'm planning to do here. We know this notch right here, the end of our neck proper, that is not going to change. So what we need to do is copy that line over to the side of our neck. Do the same thing over here. Then I'll make myself a little tick. And then we'll connect those two lines right there all the way around the neck. All I need to do is line this line that we just made on the sides and the bottom of the neck. That needs to line up with that line we made at 128 millimeters. We'll line it up on both sides, and that's how we're going to come up with our centerpiece of the Murado lined up on our center line on the top. We've got the line that we drew perpendicular to the center line. That's, tells us where we need to go up and back or fore and aft. And I can get this lined up underneath. And I'm just demonstrating this. We're actually going to do this here in just a minute. I'm as much figuring out how I'm going to do this as I am telling you guys about it. I'm just studying about this and making sure everything's going to work out like I want it to. The thing is about this, there's no going back. Once we make a cut on this top, if we make the cut too wide, too narrow is not a problem. Too wide's a major problem. I don't want to have to start filling voids with super glue and walnut dust or anything like that, because it will absolutely show. If both sides were like this and I had cutaways on both sides, I would only be dealing with that 1.5 inch line right there. But the way I've got this body shape drawn, this whole distance right here, that 5 inches or so, is gonna need to be gap free. We need to get this neck clamped to this top, and we need to get some mark out done. I don't think I could have gotten that any closer if I would have tried. We're dead on that center line. So I'm going to look down in this cavity right here, and make sure I'm lined up on my center line. We look really, really good. I'm going to take and draw this neck shape out only from here back. And I don't even really have to go all the way back, because this is the part that's going to come up against the body here. I've got some sanding I'm going to need to do on here. I'm going to hollow out a lot of this. Before we can do that, we need to decide where my bridge is going to go. So let's take our ruler here, and this is a 25-inch scale guitar. So I'm going to lay this ruler on the center line, and we're going to mark out where this scale length's going to fall. Now I'm all the way up against my neck pocket back right there, so I can mark this. That is my scale length. So I know that I need material left in this area for my bridge to mount. So what we need to do is get our bridge out. If you guys will remember, I'm using the Godo wraparound bridge. I love Godo equipment, Godo hardware. So my scale length is going to be ultimately right in there. So while we're at this point, I'm going to go ahead and draw, an outline around this, just so I can see when I go to start hollowing out this material and turning this guitar into a hollow body, just so I can see where my bridge goes. Here's another issue that I'm going to have to work out, and it's not that big of a problem. If you guys will notice, when I go to slide this walnut top up under here, I need about 1 millimeter of height here. I've still got sanding to do on this body, and I've still got to scrape this top level, so I will not do this yet. But if that becomes an issue, my plan to deal with that, to get this neck raised up out of the pocket just a little, I will glue some veneer onto the back of this neck heel before we pop it down in the pocket, and I'll make it like a dark, light, dark or something like that, so it's decorative when we go to carve this neck. But I don't really think that's going to become an issue after we sand this and everything, because that's going to drop the surface of my body down. If I can get 1/2 millimeter off this thing, and I know a 1/2 millimeter or so is going to come off of this thing once I start sanding it and getting it cleaned up and everything before we glue it on, we should be fine. What I need to do is make myself a paper template of this body shape before we start sanding on this, because this is all going to disappear. I got my paper down on the body blank. I've cut 2 triangles out of this and put 2 pieces of Scotch tape on it to hold this still. I want to make myself a couple little ticks. One there, and one down here. That's our center line. And I want to draw that in, but this will give me a reference as far as where I want this to go. Now we can kind of draw the neck pocket shape in right here. Now we just want to trace out this body shape. I can mark my scale length line on here. That's all I wanted to do. I just want some kind of representation, so when I go to place this back, when we glue on our walnut top, I can redraw this and have at least a decent starting point. Now I may change a few things. I won't change it much though, because I like this shape. Nothing to do but to get after it. Let's turn the vacuum on and go with it. This shouldn't take very long with 80 grit. and we'll redraw that shape on there roughly. Because what we need to do now is lay out our hog out area. I should have hogged this out first, but that's all right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my scissors and we'll cut this shape out. Okay. So let's redefine our center line, and we're using the joint. All right, there's our center line. That gives me something to line our template up to. So right in there. And we'll take the belly of the PRS. We'll get this lined up on here. And I'm just going to make a rough outline and we'll redraw this. Now I don't want this sharp point right here. I want that rounded. There's our scale length. I know over here I'm going to need a control cavity from the rear. We've got a universal template from Crimson that I think should work. Yeah, that should work out perfect. That's all we need. Output jack, volume knob, pickup, bridge. That's all that's going to be on the front of this guitar as far as hardware goes. I've got the drill press set up. I've got my depth stop set. We're ready to start hogging some material out of this guitar. Let's get the drill press fired up and get some of this material removed. I've got a 30mm Forstner bit in the drill press right now. So there's what I'm doing. I'll be back in just a minute. We'll finish the hog out procedure and we'll pick back up when I'm done. All right, you guys. We've got the hog out at least started. Now I'm going to do some more of this. I want this gone right here, but my drill press wouldn't reach. So I'm going to grab my hand drill and we'll hog out this area because I need this connected. I've cleaned up the sides of this part with the chisel. And all I did was shave those points off left by the Forstner bit. Once I get this area connected, we'll shave these points off with the chisel just like we did over here. Then we're going to get the router out and I'm going to freehand. I'll make this line darker with like a black Sharpie so I can see it really good. And we're going to freehand this route around the inside of this body and clean up the bottom of this pocket right here. And I think that's going to leave us pretty much like I want to be left. I've left this area right here and you can see I've got the that cavity drawn out on there. I plan to leave a ridge around this side of that cavity so I can route the recess and the cover be held in there by magnets or screws or whatever I decide to use in the back. That's also going to allow me to shield this cavity. That's why I'm leaving that ridge around there, not opening it up into the entire inside of this body. I don't want shielding paint on this. I want bare wood with some penetrating oil on the inside of this body. So let's take our 20mm Narex and let's clean up some of these tips right here. I don't like leaving those for the router. Nothing beats a good sharp chisel. When I go to start routing on this thing, I don't want any dead corners or standing corners inside this cavity. I want everything to be nice and round and smooth. We're going to darken this up so I can see it better. So anything that's inside of this area with the exception of this area right here, is going to be routed smooth, and the bottom's going to be flattened up in there as well. I've left a nice wide amount of wood on that side. The reason I've done that is because when I get this done, and you'll notice I've got that tapered so it gets wider, comes back thinner right here, and then all this is staying solid wood because I did not want to take a chance on either end of this becoming fragile. Plus that gives me a little bit more stability for my neck carve, or my neck mount, I mean. And then I'm thick right here. I go back to thin around this area, and then all this will stay solid wood so we can incorporate that shielded cavity that I was talking about earlier. But the reason I did all this right here is because I'm going to carve a bevel onto this edge of this body once we get the walnut top glued on. The reason I chose this thickness of this alder top that I've glued on there is so I can not only reveal some of the alder, but so I can keep carving down and make it at an angle so it actually reveals the mahogany as well. So we'll see walnut, alder, and mahogany leading from this bevel right here. I think that's going to be really cool looking. And then I'll fade it out so that taper changes widths around through here. And then I may actually carve another reveal right down in here. I have not decided that yet. I may actually only do the bevel right here, but I will be doing a uniform bevel all the way around this guitar. I'm going to do some relief right in here so you've got comfortable access up into the higher registers of the neck. I'll bevel this a little bit, but nothing as dramatic as the bevel that's going to occur on the side of the belly right here. There's nothing to do but for me to start routing this thing. Let me get the router and the vacuum cleaner set up. We'll come right back and we'll start getting this done. We're getting close, you guys, and I'm getting excited about it. So I am going to freehand route about 1/8 of an inch down. I've got a bearing on this router bit, but it is not exposed below the bottom of my base here, which will allow me to freehand this. Once I get that cut in, that will become the pattern or the guide for my router bit to ride on. That way I can keep that shape the rest of the way without having to worry about getting in to the sides of my body and getting that route off. So that's why I'm going to do it that way. I've got this body hollowed out. I've got it routed. I'll let you guys see the beginning of the process and basically how I was going to go about doing it. But I didn't figure you wanted to sit there and watch me route for an hour. And I don't like for my videos to be full of fast forwards. I watch a lot of YouTube videos on guitar building. And the one thing I feel like you really get nothing from is a fast forwarded clip. Now it does show that the person did all the work. So you kind of got to weigh the balance on, you know, what you think it's worth to show that. But I did show what I thought was enough information in the beginning of this process so you guys would know what I was doing and how I was going to go about it. I've got a well-defined deep cavity. I mean, this cavity as it sits right now is 37 millimeters deep in a 50 millimeter deep body. Even after sanding, we should still be 13 and a half millimeters thick as far as the back of this body goes. So I'm happy with that. I think everything's going to be fine. I've been sanding just on the bottom of this cavity just to get mainly this area right here cleaned up. I may put some type of sound hole back in this area. I have not decided where I'm going to put it yet. But just in case I decided to put it back in here, I wanted the bottom of this cavity to be nice and clean. So when you look down inside there, you're seeing clean, nice wood. So that's what I've been working on. That's all I've done. I also laid my paper template down on top of there, and I just roughly sketched out where that cavity exists on the body. That way, when I go to glue this top on, I start to do my bevels and everything, I'll have some representation of exactly how close I'm coming to the cavity. I don't want to sand through or carve through the top down into the cavity and leave a hole in the guitar. I don't really need this extra meat right here. It's not doing anything other than supporting the top. But in all honesty, I think I would get better resonance from this guitar if I do away with this and slope this down into this carve. The main reason I left this here is, like I said, I think these two areas right here are going to provide some extra support to make sure I'm not suffering too much tension when I put the strings, you know, or when the guitar comes up to tune. I'm not putting too much tension on the guitar this way. So that's why I did that to begin with. But now that I've thought about it, and structurally speaking, I really don't feel like at least this part is necessary. We'll saw this. Even if I don't go all the way down, as long as it's not supporting the top, I'll be fine. That's also going to give me a little bit more space for my pickup. I think I'll leave myself just a small lip to make sure my neck doesn't go any further forward. All right, I'm thinking I'm good with that. And honestly, I believe I need to ramp these back as well. Knowing that I have a nice tight neck fit with no open gaps on the sides lets me know that I can use a flush cut router bit and just flush trim the top set. How we're going to go about this, and first of all, I need to decide which side of this top I'm going to have facing up. Either side will work. This is beautiful wood. The guys at C. Jacobs did a really great job on the book match here. I've got my neck pocket drawn right there, as you can see. I do not want to cut that right up to that line. This side's going to need to be up. I think the book match is a little better. So let's just trim this top. So this will start to become really clear at this point. So I think what I'll do is cut this thing a little bit short. Then we'll dry fit our neck. I've got lines drawn on my body blank to let me know where to line this top set up at. And I need to transfer these lines inside the neck pocket so I can see those. Let's make ourselves a center line down inside that neck pocket so I'm not guessing at that. There's my center line there. And there it is down on that end. Now let's get our ruler. Now we've got a center line down in there that we can see to be able to get this lined up. Put myself a clamp right there. Then I can turn this up and make sure I'm on my center line on the back. We'll put another clamp. I'll double check everything. We look good. Let's make sure we haven't moved it up here. I'm good. Now, I should be able to take my drill at this point and take a 2mm drill bit and drill us some locator pins outside of our body shape. One up there, one down here. A 2mm drill bit gives you a really nice fit on a standard toothpick, or cocktail stick as they call them over across the pond. We'll double check this fit. Good there, good there. All right, so I've got alignment pins now. I want to make absolutely certain that I've got this neck fit like I want it. Using that bolt through the back of the body into the tenon, I've abandoned that idea because it wound up not making any sense for me to do that. You know, bolt-on is a bolt-on, and a set neck is a set neck. I don't really see the need to redefine what that means. So I've got a bottom bearing Tideway Carbide Pro 1/4 inch bit. I'll be able to ride that down in here, and I'll just get this right below the top set, and we'll route this flush with the sides. Now what I'll do is I'll get this bit on my center line with the blade riding directly on the center. I've got a scribed center line on this piece of plexiglass that I use for this router base, and I'm going to make myself a mark right here. That's where my piece of wood needs to go. And this is just a stop for my router base. All right, you guys, so we've got this done. I need to do some cleanup work on this top. It's about 1/2 millimeter too thick, which is keeping it from sliding up under my fretboard right here. So what we're going to start with is the joint. I'm just going to use scrapers on this. I don't feel like I need to go crazy with the plane. This is an 80 thousandths scraper. And figure out which way is going to be best for us to use this thing. I think it's probably going to be either or. God, what a beautiful piece of wood. I mean, it really is just lovely. And as I said, we don't need to take too much off of this, and I'm mainly concentrating on this area right here that needs to slide up under my fretboard. We got to mark out for our truss rod adjustment nut. So I need to notch this out. What I'll do is measure this depth right here. I'll take my ruler and see how far that nut protrudes from the end of the neck. And it looks like we're at about 6.5 millimeters. So we'll go 8. So now let's mark this out with the protractor. That will be our notch, and we're just going to chisel that out. Now we'll take our file, clean this up. I want to square these up right here. I'll lay my ruler down here, make sure I'm flush, 0.5 millimeter pencil, draw in these lines. I just want to square those corners off is all I want to do. So I'm going to take my 10 millimeter Narex, just pare this away here. A little shy of our final spot. I'll take a triangle file. That's what I was doing. Put our neck down in this pocket. Get that as close as we can. Pop it down in there. Take our mallet. And right there, my corners disappear. Just like that. That's exactly what I wanted. This is good. This is a good thing, you guys. I'm really happy with this. As far as this video goes, mainly what I wanted to accomplish was getting this hog out done and getting this material removed on this body blank and working out our neck fit into this neck pocket, making sure we were nice and smooth on this, getting our bridge position finalized, figuring out what we're going to do about this control cavity over here, which we've decided we'll put a contrasting wood cover over the control cavity. I still have not quite decided what I'm going to do about the pickup, but we'll decide that coming up here shortly. All right, you guys, I'm going to wrap this video up right here. I really don't feel comfortable going any further. What needs to happen now, I feel like warrants a video of its own, just like I did on the Cloud 9 build, which is my entry into the Great Guitar Build-Off. We need to do some work on this neck before it gets glued to that body. So in the next episode, what we're going to take care of, we're going to pre-radius this fretboard to a 12-inch radius. I'm going to get the fret slots cut to depth. We'll get our fret markers installed. We'll get our side dot markers installed. We'll get our headstock plate glued on and down to its final thickness. We'll drill the tuners in, and I'm going to run this neck through the jig that I set up on my spindle sander, get this thing to within a couple of millimeters of its final dimensions thickness wise. Then we'll start to cut some facets on this neck. The next episode is going to be all about the neck. I will also update you guys as to where I'm at on the 7 of 9 build, which is the Telly inspired build that I'm doing for my friend Wes that I work with. I really want to thank you guys for all the support you've shown me. And I want to let you know that if there's anything I can do to help any of you guys, and I know this feeling's mutual, but as far as anything that I can do that you guys need from me, information on product, on tools, on processes, anything that I could possibly help you guys out with, drop me a comment, send me an email to sweettguitars@outlook.com. I'm more than happy to do that. That's why I do this right here. I want to teach what I'm learning as I'm learning it, so it's fresh in my mind, and any of you guys that have questions about any of those processes that I may be going through on a particular video, you can get answers to those things. If there's anything in particular that you guys need to know or that you want to know, all you got to do is ask, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate all the killer kind comments you guys leave for me. It makes my day every single day of my life at this point. When I go back and read some of the comments you guys leave, it's truly humbling. And it makes me feel really awesome every single day to belong to this great community. I really appreciate you guys allowing me to be a part of it. Thank you so much. Keep dropping by the channel. If you haven't already, please think about hitting that subscribe button, hitting the notification bell. After the next video, I'm going to shift my focus back over to the Cloud 9 build, or my entry into the Great Guitar Build-Off. And that's kind of how I'm going to do this for the next probably the next 2 months. I'm going to bounce back and forth between these two builds. I'll catch you guys on the next episode, and until that time, peace and love.